Today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers podcast is brought to you by betonline.ag. In week 8 of the NFL season is just about wrapped up. We've got Chiefs and Giants tonight. But if you want to place a bet on any of the NFL action, BetOnline is the place to do it.
Man, you talking about a weird point spread, 15-10 the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I know you had to go to BetOnline to check it out.
We're going to break it all down on today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers podcast, Ike. But before you do, head to the website, betonline.ag. Check out the new and updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav50. That's BLEAV 50 to receive your welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, cue the music. It's time to start the show. Welcome to another edition of the Bleav in Steelers podcast on the Bleav Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark Bergin, joined as always by my guy, two-time Super Bowl champion and 12-year veteran of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ike Taylor. IT, I tell you what, Mondays feel all that much better after a victory. Steelers have won 3 in a row, beating the Cleveland Browns 15-10. How you doing this Monday morning, my man?
Man, you talking about trying to be the champs of the AFC North, Pittsburgh Steelers, 3 in a row, Mark. It look like they creeping back in, baby.
And you mentioned it before the pod, kind of a weird score in this one too, but Steelers won 3 in a row. Not a coincidence. Big Ben has not thrown an interception during that 3-game winning streak, and we're going to break it all down now. It is important to mention that the Browns were without Denzel Ward. Jack Conklin, the right tackle, went out in this game, which I thought was a key, player, that an all-pro player the Browns missed. TJ Watt getting into the action. This was just a defensive performance, Ike. And if you'd have told me before the start of the game, Steelers enter this game ranked 31st in the league in rushing. They not only outrushed the Cleveland Browns, who were number 1 in the league coming into this game, but also controlled time of possession. This was an old school matchup, and the Steelers almost able to beat the Browns at their own game during Sunday's victory.
Man, I'll tell you what, TJ Watt, Mr. I'm always around the ball, and I'm always going to make a play when I need to. And how about Cam Hayward? We talk about this guy. Matter of fact, we talk about this guy, but people don't talk about this guy enough. Cam Hayward, man, is the heart and soul. He's the personality, not only to that defense, but to that team in my mind. And how I look at Nick Chubb's for that personality when you want to talk about the offense and the hardcore running, that's how I look at Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward, for me, sets the tone on the offense and defensive side. And for me, he had a big part of winning that game against the Cleveland Browns.
And you're teasing ahead to your Taylor Talk segment, Ike. We're going to have one of the key plays in the victory from the defensive side of the football. And I know you love talking about defense, Ike, as a cornerback of 12 years for the Steelers. And to me, that was really the narrative of this game, is how well the defense played in shutting down Nick Chubb. Now, Kareem Hunt did sit. He was out. Dearness Johnson's been a very good back for the Browns. Correct. But the Browns offense really couldn't get going. And it really goes back to our discussion we had previewing the game of the Browns front office has a decision to make this offseason or the subsequent offseason. It's not just, do you want to offer him a contract extension? It's how much guaranteed money do you want to offer Baker Mayfield? I definitely think that his left shoulder injury, which he's played with since week 2 of this season, is impacting him. I can't help but wonder, though, in Monday morning quarterback, and I hate doing this, but I can't help but wonder, had Case Keenum played, would it have given the Browns a better chance to win on Sunday?
Yeah, probably so. They probably would have been clicking on all cylinders. You could tell when Baker Mayfield, when he was getting in trouble, he was ready to just tuck and duck. And you know Baker Mayfield, he always trying to find a way, always trying to make plays with his feet. So it just didn't look like the Baker Mayfield I've been looking at since he stepped into the NFL, you know. So he's clearly worried about his shoulder. And me personally, sometimes you got to protect the player, because sometimes, a lot of times, the player, all we want to do is play, because that's all we know. I thought in that case, man, I thought the Cleveland Browns should have protected Baker Mayfield, let Case Keenum play, because Case Keenum, what he does is he gets anybody the ball. Like, he doesn't have a favorite. He spreads the ball out, he reads his keys, and he's going to go. I thought they would have gave the Cleveland Browns a better chance other than Baker Mayfield because of his shoulder.
And one of the key plays I thought was on that very first drive of the game where the Browns are going down and Mayfield misses Austin Hooper, a 2-time Pro Bowl tight end. Now, Cam Hayward was in his face. Maybe that disrupted the throw, but if Mayfield makes that throw on target, on time, Hooper walks into the end zone and the Browns get 7. They have to settle for a field goal. And I thought that set the tone right away. You had that play. Then I look at the box score and Odell Beckham Jr. getting 1 catch for 6 yards, his lowest output in his career. He's due just shy of $16 million this year. I know we've got the trade deadline at 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow on Tuesday, Ike. But I'm just looking at this, and it's like oil and water for whatever reason with OBJ and Mayfield. And it's really a shame to see. Now, are things different if Kareem Hunt plays? I don't know, but the Steelers' defense shutting down the run, and Mayfield wasn't able to get the job done, scoring only 10 points in the modern day NFL in 2021, Ike. That's not going to get it done. Browns offense didn't play well enough. Hats off and kudos to the Steelers defense.
Yeah, I'm not going to put everything on Baker Mayfield this game because the receivers dropped a lot of balls.
Yeah,
they dropped a lot of passes. I'm talking about some clean cut passes that they should have received at some crucial times in the game. I mean, OBJ dropped the ball, Jarvis dropped the ball, and I think Brake dropped the ball. Yeah, and the running backs coming out of the backfield, they dropped a few balls. So I can't, on this game right here, I can't put everything on Baker Mayfield. He did throw some dimes, but his receivers wasn't giving him any help. But getting back to that Pittsburgh Steelers defense, man, that Pittsburgh Steelers defense is looking like the Pittsburgh Steelers defense of old, man. Them guys are keeping low-scoring games, giving their offense chances. And we're going to talk about these running games, and that's what we've been talking about the whole time for like the past 2 years. If Pittsburgh Steelers, if they run the ball, you see what happened. And I think they raised the stat up during the game when the Pittsburgh Steelers run over 30 times. The record is real nice for Big Ben and their organization when they run over 30 times. So I guess the Pittsburgh Steelers and everybody else been watching our show, Bleav Steelers podcast, and they've been checking it out. That we've been saying for the past 2 years, if y'all run the ball over 30 times, y'all gonna have a high chance of winning the ball game. Now you ran the ball over 30 times. Look where you at. You 3 games in a row, and you sneaking right back in that AFC North division race.
I love it, Ike. You follow the recipe, and you get a delicious meal afterwards. That's what we're telling our listeners and viewers.
Yum, 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 yum.
Again, I go back to Big Ben not throwing an interception. He very nearly did on the opening drive of the second half. I'm still trying to figure out how Grant Delpit and Malcolm Smith didn't catch that ball because he offered that Browns defense a gift to open up the third quarter. But Roethlisberger's like that old golfer, Ike, and I'm not a golfer myself. I played at a charity golf tournament several years ago, and I played with the doctor, and he told me, he said, Mark, I haven't played a lot of golf recently, but I've played a lot of golf in my life. And it was like, all right, we're going to be using your ball for the majority of the scramble today because you have that experience. And Big Ben gives the Steelers, when they need him to make plays, he can do that. Now, do we want him shooting the ball or throwing the ball 40 or 50 times in a game? No. But when you need him to make a play, he's able to do that, able to find Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, able to get it done in this 3-game winning streak. And I point to no interceptions during the Steelers' winning streak, protecting the football, making plays when he has to, and relying on the running game primarily. That's been the recipe since about week 5, Ike, and there's a reason why the Steelers are on a 3-game winning streak, protecting the football and using Big Ben in play action when he's needed. I
agree. You got to give Coach, the offense coordinator, Coach Matt Canada, huge props for calling this last game. You know, he kept Ben under center. He kept the ball in the running back's hand. He controlled the clock. He really did control the clock. And I also got to give props to Big Ben by not trying to, audible all the time and having these passing plays because he does have that right away. But, man, a huge shout to Matt Canada on calling, in my mind, a great game. But another shout out to Big Ben on sticking to the run game because I know he likes to pass the ball, but sticking to the run game and controlling the clock and going somewhere in an environment like Cleveland and coming out with that W. And it's a good win for the AFC North. That's a lot of ands, Mark.
Yes, sir. And we got to see another and Air Najee again. Air Najee. It was great. It was like we could see him flying through the air, making plays. And it's like, this is why we draft this kid out of Alabama in the first round. We got to move to the decision for the fake field goal. And I credit Mike Tomlin immediately after the game, owning it and saying, it's on me. I made that decision. And it's not so much the fake field goal decision. It was the outcome of that, of players trying to make a play. Chris Boswell is trying to find a receiver in the end zone. Credit to the Browns. They had the play covered up. And he got absolutely smoked by Browns defensive lineman Jordan Elliott. I did not think it was dirty. I know a lot of Steelers fans might feel otherwise. I don't think it was dirty at all. And so Boswell goes into concussion protocol. Steelers don't have a kicker in the second half. The big question I have now is Boswell going to miss any additional time beyond week 8? That's the big question. But that decision very nearly cost the Steelers, because even when they were down in this game, it's like, we can't settle for a field goal. We really can't kick an extra point. Again, the punter, Presley Harvin III, has no experience kicking. He's just a punter. And so Steelers had to adapt, and they're able to get it done. But I credit Mike Tomlin for immediately after the game taking the onus and saying, this was my decision. That's on me. It's what good coaches do. You move on, you adapt. And the Steelers able to rally despite not having their kicker in the second half.
Yeah, Bozzy got to let that ball go. Bozzy held on to that ball for too long. And now he understands and see what that quarterback life like, what that receiver life like. Anybody who got the ball in their hand, if they're in the NFL, what that thing feel like? That thing didn't look good at all. Bozzy was on that ground for a while. I'm sure they asked Bozzy what state he was in. I'm sure he said Australia. I'm pretty sure he said Australia. So hopefully Bozzy can get back to where he needs to be, because don't forget, he's been a key factor in a lot of these Pittsburgh Steelers wins. He's one of the only kickers that can kick at Heinz Field consistently. So hopefully Bozzy will come back from concussion protocol, but I guarantee you Coach T will not be running that play again, because going down the stretch, man, they're really going to need Chris Boswell, I think, in my mind.
Yeah, it was a stupid decision, Ike, no doubt. And Boswell's been one of the most accurate kickers in the league. I'm not going to fault a player trying to make a play, which what he was trying to do there. But man, and if you look back to the stats, you can look at this. Go back to, say, the 2019 season. He's been even more accurate than Justin Tucker. He's been among the best kickers in the league. So hopefully he doesn't miss any additional time. Like this week, this is one of the things I'm going to monitor is, okay, are the Steelers going to bring someone in for their week 9 matchup against the Chicago Bears? But hopefully Boswell can get back on the field as healthy. Hopefully he can clear concussion protocol and get back to just knocking them through the uprights, because I know it's not necessarily the sexiest thing to settle for 3 and not go for it on 4th down, but Boswell, as good as they come in the league.
Money in the bank, escrow, just letting the money grow. That's Chris Boswell right there, man. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't affect him long term. That's how I look at it, Mark, because he took a nice little hit there. That was a hard hit he took. And it took a while for him to get up. And, you know, the kickers ain't used to taking them kind of hits. So hopefully, man, I hope Bozzy just clear his head. I hope it's not as bad as it looked. But then again, man, I hope the Pittsburgh Steelers don't run no play like that, especially with Chris Boswell. As consistent as this guy has been for the past couple of years in the stats, you just said, man, he's one of the best to do it. Don't put that man in that situation.
The Wizard of Boz, Ike. I think he's earned that nickname. He's been fantastic for the Steelers.
I like it.
Yes. Let's go to Taylor Talk. We've got 2 plays to break down, Ike. Okay. And the first one, starting on the defensive side of the football, just for you, Ike Taylor. Getting a key 4th down stop. This was the very first play of the second quarter. Browns at about midfield. And Courtney, if you want to bring the play up now, you can do that. And we're going to go full screen here on this play too, Ike. But the key to this play is watching the disruption that Cam Hayward causes. He's matched up against Blake Hance, who's brought in as an offensive lineman, but lined up at the tight end position. He's lined up outside of the Browns' left tackle, Jedrick Wills. He blows up not only the B gap, Ike, but the C gap as well. Nick Chubb forced to bounce the play outside. And Courtney, if you want to run the play, go ahead. I thought it was very interesting, too, on this play, Ike. Joe Hayden playing on the right side. He typically lines up on the left side, able to force the play back in. TJ Watt cleans up. in pursuit of the football. This to me was just a great defensive play of the Steelers defense rallying to the football and what it's like to play team defense, getting all 11 hats on the ball.
So you want to talk about, and I got a defense, and all I ask my defensive line is for penetration. So just look at the penetration Cam do. So Cam is playing on the other side of the field. And when you got a guy like Cam and your defense is playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, man, that just helps you with the play calling as a defensive coordinator. So that's been typical Cam. Cam is not going to get on ESPN on that, but everybody in the world knows this defense runs off of Cam. So when you see that penetration, when you see this guy getting in the gaps, when you see a guy like Cam Hayward shooting 2 gaps, an A, a B, or a C gap, that's something you can't coach. So that's what I like about Cam, and that was crucial in that game. That was real crucial in that game, man. That momentum, I thought, swung because of that, but Cam doesn't get enough credit. But the NFL world knows Cam, and they know how good he is, because you cannot put Cam in a Pro Bowl, but you're definitely going to put Cam as a All-Pro.
Yeah, and the footage courtesy of NFL Game Pass there, Ike. But you can just see the disruption that he causes. Chubb can't just run right into him behind the line of scrimmage. And you see Steelers rallying to the football. Joe Hayden setting the edge. Ike, you tell me this all the time. Lose contain, you lose the game. He's able to force the play back in. TJ Watt and company clean up. So I thought that was a key play right at the start of the second quarter. So it's almost like a de facto timeout for the Browns too, to where they could scheme up a play and use the timeout break to say, okay, what do we want to run to ensure that we're going to convert on 4th and 1? And later in the game, the Browns actually opted to punt the ball in a similar situation. I think a lot of it had to do with, hey, 100%. We tried this earlier on in the game in the second quarter, and we saw what happened. The Steelers defense able to get a stop.
Yeah, I agree with you. But that started with Cam. You know, that's what Cam has been doing since he stepped into the league. You know, but when you get penetration like that, and we call that walking the dog. So when you get a defensive line walking the dog backwards like that as an offensive lineman, man, he's able to get that kind of penetration regardless on what gap it is and take up 2 gaps. He's really not supposed to do that, but that's just showing you strength and the power of Cam, man. So Cam came through at a crucial time in that game, Mark.
All right, we're going to go to the next Taylor Talk play, and this was Pat Freiermuth's touchdown catch on a key 4th down conversion in the second half. And I tell you what, I've seen a lot of great catches in my day. This was among the best in a key 4th down situations where the Steelers needed to convert, again, without kicker Chris Boswell, and they needed a play, and it happened here on this play. In the 4th quarter, on 4th down, when you need it, going up against your division rivals. It's almost a do-or-die scenario, Ike. And the rookie out of Penn State able to come through and make a play for the Steelers. So
before we play this, before we run this, just look at Pat Freiermuth. He's sitting in the slot. The slot means he's near the line of scrimmage. So he's going to run a 7 route. A 7 route, for all y'all who don't know, if you just want to look at a receiver route tree, all the odd numbers are outside. All the even numbers are inside routes. That's football 101 for y'all. So he's going to run like a 7 route, which is a corner route, but they line him up in the slot, because if you're watching this video, if you look to the right side, you can see a lot of space towards the back of that end zone. If we can run this play, Ben has some option. If you watch Deontay Johnson at the top of your screen, man, he runs a double move. So Deontay is going to come in, come out. Ben doesn't see it. Ben stays one way. Boy, you got to get this all to Pat Freiermuth, man. This guy just did this all on his own. And we've been talking about this guy since he came out of college. I wasn't that big of a fan of him. You was, Mark, but if you just look at it, especially in slow motion, man, usually guys are covered in the NFL, and receivers have to play what we call attacking the ball. So we call this combat catching. This is a combat catch. Look at this. This is a combat catch. Caught it once, bobbled the ball, had enough in the peace of mind and athleticism to get 2 feet down. That was crucial in the game. Check this out, because he's covered. This is a combat catch, as Kevin Colbert would like to say, as the the Pittsburgh Steelers general manager. Man, I try to find guys who can combat catch. They can stay covered, but they always coming down with the ball. And every time you popped in the tape in college on Pat Freiermuth, that's all he did. He was covered, but he always had them combat catches, and he came down with the ball. So he just been displaying this since training camp.
Courtney, can you go to the very start of the clip again and play it? A key block on this play. Najee Harris is lined up just to the left of Big Ben. Myles Garrett beats left tackle Dan Moore off the edge. Harris able to chip Garrett, and without that key block, this completion does not happen.
That's a good eye. So to be a every down back in the NFL, you have to be able to pass block on third down. So you can go first and second, but if you're not going to be able to pass block, you're not going to play NFL for long, which we just saw what Najee just did. But, Mark, that's a good eye you saw. That's a good eye. You seeing the whole field now. I like it.
One other thing, too, able to make the catch against Brown safety Ronnie Harrison, who should have been called for a pass interference on the play before. Pass interference against Deontay Johnson, at least it appeared to be. The refs held the flag, too. So a little bit of justice on this play, too, Ike.
But when you draft guys who are combat catchers, and they're used to guys tugging on them, and they always coming down with the ball, they're not looking for a flag call. So that's what you got to learn about the concentration with a big tight end named Pat Freiermuth like that coming down and catching that ball.
Refs are letting them play, no doubt, Ike. We've got a few other Week 8 NFL Week 8 observations, Ike. I tell you what, this was a wacky Sunday. 7-8 if you count the Cowboys once Dak Prescott was ruled out. Right. 7 outright underdogs winning, again, 8 by the time the Cowboys Sunday Night Football game kicked off against the Vikings once Cooper Rush was inserted into the Cowboys starting lineup. Cowboys finally might have struck gold with the redheaded quarterback. I know they've had several the last several years, but it was weird because we saw the Bucs lose to the Saints. Jameis Winston goes down. Taysom Hill's already injured, so the Saints go to Simeon. And it was bizarre. I mean, the Bengals losing to the Jets, it was just a wacky Sunday. So for the Steelers to get a victory,
it was a good Sunday
get back
for the
in the
Steelers.
AFC North. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The Steelers, if you look at their schedule, they could go 6-3. They play Chicago on Monday. Ain't no telling. Chicago haven't been playing well, even though Justin Fields, you could tell they kind of opened the playbook up for him and start letting him use his legs a little bit more. But the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, they're being very stingy. They're not spending no kind of money. So that's how I look at it. So they can easily go 5-3 after that Chicago Bears game, and they can go on the road and win again. They can be 6-3, just sitting at the top now. It's been a slow start for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but once them boys started, you know what? They're reversing what they did last year. Last year they started off high, and it cooled down for them. Yeah. This year started off cold, and they started to warm up. So this can be a scary team as long as you keep 7 throwing the ball less than 25 times, maybe 30 on a good day. Maybe 30 on a good day. Pittsburgh still to have action. Run that ball, control the clock, let the defense do what they do, and because them boys been acting real stingy. And, man, we got action. But they can easily go 5-3 quietly. Easily they can go 5-3. But, yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals lost in the close one. Who else lost? Of course, Cleveland lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this AFC, man, before you know it, it's gonna be between Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. I know we like the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah. I know we like the Cincinnati Bengals and what Joe Burrow is doing with Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. They cutting up. Meaning they having a lot of fun. They're fun to watch. The Browns, Baker's hurt. We'll see what Baker gonna do. OBJ is not happy. I don't think Jarvis happy, and I think they look at Baker Mayfield as a passenger, not a pilot. But he will get his $35 to $40 million a year. I do think they're gonna pay him, like you said earlier in the show. How much guaranteed money will he get? But I think he's their best option as a quarterback in Cleveland. He fits Cleveland personality. But if you just want to look at the whole spectrum, I'm looking at Baker Mayfield and I'm looking at the people he got around him, and I'm definitely saying he's the passenger, not the pilot for that team. So be very quiet. The Pittsburgh Steelers are back in action, baby.
You got the Bears and the Lions in the following 2 weeks. Titans are going to be without Derrick Henry for the foreseeable future. Just before the start of the show, Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reports that they're going to bring in Adrian Peterson for a workout there. So Henry's got some sort of foot injury. He might be out for the rest of the season. We're going to keep an eye on that. that information might be out by the time this episode is out, but at least for the foreseeable future, the Titans will be without Derrick Henry. But Ike, we'll have a full preview pod of the Week 9 matchup, Monday Night Football, Bears at Steelers. It's going to be at Heinz Field, and the Steelers are a 6.5-point favorite. I'd imagine Pittsburgh will be a favorite, not just this upcoming week, but the following week against the Detroit Lions as well. So like you said, very good opportunity to go 6-3 to start the year. And considering when the Steelers were on their 3-game losing streak, to be in the situation that we're in right now, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, yet again, rinse and repeat, history repeating itself yet again in the AFC North, Ike.
Yes, sir. I was talking a lot of smack on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I can't talk smack. Them boys done won 3 in a row. And like you said, they got a good chance the next 2 weeks to go 6-3.
I love it, Ike. You're the absolute best. I've got to give a shout out to the Bleav Podcast Network, the folks over at Brinks TV, led by John Brinkus, Courtney Vargas, Herbert Diaz, and their team over there. Today's sponsor, Bet Online. And I also want to thank the listeners and the viewers of the Bleav in Steelers podcast. Thank you for tuning in, listening, watching, wherever you are. We appreciate you.
Man, I piggyback off of everything what Mark said. Appreciate you, Mark and Miss Courtney, for taking y'all time with me today. Shout out to Brinks TV. Shout out to Bet Online AG. Shout out to Bleav in Steelers podcast. Shout out to Mark, my host, my man, my guy, my dog. Shout out to everybody who have been listening to us 24/7. Make sure y'all please rate and review and give us a 5-piece. That means 5 stars.
5 stars. Click that subscribe button too, Ike. I've loved seeing the growth of this show. We've got some fun things planned in the coming weeks as well. We're going to see our listeners and viewers again on Friday morning. Until then, take care and so long, everybody.
Peace.